Right, where are we? What episode is this, John?
Oh, I've lost count of the canonical order
Just
of
an
things.
episode.
Yeah, on the next episode. I reckon if we go back and watch all these and like line it up with the actual podcast releases, every number we say is going to be different to
Completely
the number
wrong.
that's on the screen.
Probably.
So
I'll be right.
I think we're aiming for the most confusing podcast in history.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Is there an award for that?
Both in terms of content and logistics.
Yes. There must be an award for that.
Yeah.
Definitely. There'll be a shield from YouTube.
Well, surely we're owed something for getting. Have you seen this morning?
No, I haven't. I can't view it because it's on your profile and it's your number count, but it's not. I can't see it.
I think so. Someone messaged me saying, "Oh my God, you've got over 1 million views."
I didn't see that.
And I was like, "Where did you see it?" And apparently, you can see it on the Reels tab,
Oh.
but it's just not on the grid.
Oh, I see. I was just looking on the grid. That's fine.
Yeah, because I've literally had people messaging me updates. I'm like, I know, I'm watching it. Like I'm completely addicted to watching it go up.
That's crazy.
It was going up like yesterday. It was going up like 100,000 views every 15 minutes.
By the time that this episode actually comes out, you might be on like 2 million views. That's wild. That's
You might want to rephrase that.
Wait, what are you on now?
Like 2.2.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. By the time we shoot this episode, we're going to be over 2 million views.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh
I think
goodness.
by the time this episode comes out, we're going to be so famous we can just bin off the whole podcast
I mean, you will
industry.
be. You will be. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't put you in
Actually,
the video.
No.
Because you can do it.
No, I can't do it.
You disqualified yourself through competence.
But because I could do it. Yeah, no, that's true actually. Yeah, good point. Fair point.
But that's going to be the next video. I need to put up a redemption video for everyone.
Yeah.
Which is actually one of my plans for today, is to video everyone doing it successfully.
Nice. Yeah. And you can do it when you're pregnant. Hashtag you say.
Yeah. You know what's funny about getting 2.2 million views? Is that every single one of them thinks it's easy.
Which, yeah.
And it's so funny reading the comments. There are a few people that are spot on, like, yeah, this is what he's doing. I'm like, yeah, okay, they do see it.
Yeah.
But quite a few people are like, oh, everyone's going really high and he's doing it really low. And I'm like, that's not the difference.
Yeah.
So, like, they're saying, this is really easy. You just do this. And I'm like, no, that's not the correct answer.
Do you know what? It would be really interesting to see if you get any, like, you know, when you can do like an Instagram remix and you can like, right, this is the video. Let me see if I can give this a go and see if you get any responses and be like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, it is hard.
Yeah.
That would be interesting for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, quite a few people commented saying, like one guy commented saying, my toxic trait is I think I could do this first try. And I just want to be like, put it on video, dude.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't want to be that guy that like just calls out
No,
everyone.
yeah.
But I just genuinely through curiosity want to see people try it.
Yeah.
Because, so we should probably explain for some context so people who are listening to all this preamble, is using the tornado ball, we do this trick where we swing it from the front to the back over your head and it doesn't touch your body. And well, the story behind that is that I was coaching at Bristol Bears. It was during the COVID pandemic and we couldn't use the gym. And I was like, how do I make S&C fun and original and also just physically demanding when we've got no equipment that we're allowed to use? And so I took my tornado balls for a session and I was thinking, right, really cool tool, but highly dangerous when left in the hands of many essentially children.
Yes.
Yeah, all teenage boys, all developing limbs and like whatever. I was like, I don't want to be responsible for any dislocated shoulders. So I came up with the drill, just intuitively. It's like, oh, well, we'll get them used to swinging the ball, get used to controlling the trajectory, going overhead, and like, get them comfortable with it. And so I came up with the drill just thinking, oh, this is like an easy gateway drill that they can practice. Not one of them could do it.
Wow.
Like 70 coordinated athlete kids, and not one of them could do it. And I was like, that was weird. That's not what I expected. I thought there'd be like a couple of goes and everyone would be able to do it.
Yeah.
And then obviously that became the gym challenge that it is today.
It is, yeah.
And then it's gone on Instagram. I thought it'd be like, oh, this is funny and get a couple thousand views.
Yeah.
And it's just the number of people sharing it. It's had like 5,000 shares or something.
That's wild, isn't it?
People are intrigued by the fact that it looks easy and then no one can do it.
Yeah.
And then I also think they're triggered by the fact that no one can do it because they're like, but it's easy.
Yeah.
And I want to know how these people get on because I think most of them will think that it's not easy when they try
I'd love to see some response videos from people that aren't from the gym. That would be cool.
There's also some funny like confirmation of what we've talked about, the difference between feeling and knowing. Because there are quite a few people who are like, oh, it's easy, he does this with his hands. And I'm like, right, but I have actually explained this to most of the people in the video.
Yeah.
And a lot of them still can't do it. And a lot of them are doing the right thing with their hands, but the very precise timing required to make it work still isn't there. So they know exactly what to do. They can execute what to do. They can mime it and they can demonstrate it. They can probably even coach it to someone else.
Yep.
But they still can't do it because there's so much feel implied in the success of that movement.
Yeah.
That all the knowledge in the world still isn't creating the solution for them. Isn't that interesting?
It is it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a funny video as well.
It is funny.
Very funny. If you haven't
The thing that's really
watched-
funny is that the ball goes overhead. There's a split second where everyone thinks they've done it
Yeah.
because it hasn't hit them yet.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it is easy. Bang.
It's when Cherry almost hit herself in the head coming back, and I was like,
That's what I'm most scared about.
yeah, it's just, yeah.
A tornado ball in the bum is like,
That's all right.
yeah,
Squidgy.
it's squidgy. Yeah,
It's fine.
to the back of the head.
Yeah,
Like, you can't even do that in UFC. You're not allowed to punch the back of the head. So
Yeah.
I do worry about maiming people.
Yeah, it'd be all right. It'd be fine. No one's done it yet. We've got insurance.
Yeah, fire, theft, and tornado.
Extra category.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what are we actually talking about today, John?
You mean we're not just talking about the rampant success of this Instagram
I mean, we
video?
can make a whole
We should do
podcast
40
on
minutes on
the tornado ball.
the 2 million view tornado ball.
Yeah. So,
challenge.
and by the time this comes out, what are we going to be on? Well, I say we. What are you going to be on? 3 million?
Should have guessed. So it's still in the exponential phase, so it's doubling every day.
Okay. Oh,
So
God.
I know. So by the time it comes out, it could be 100 billion.
I'm going to say 3.5.
I think that's probably a good shout because it has to slow down at some
Yeah.
point. Once it went over 1 million, I was like, I've lost a bit of interest. It's a long way to 1 billion. What we're actually talking about today, the most controversial topic in the whole fitness industry at the moment, probably, which is a wild thing to say, fascia, connective tissue.
Yeah, which is not something I am very knowledgeable on at all.
Well, the thing that's interesting, right, is I was thinking about what we're going to talk about today, and I have lots I can say about fascia, but how much of it do I know for a 100% fact is true? And it's kind of not a lot. So, and I'm talking about why that is. I don't know that anyone knows lots about fascia. It's one of those really interesting topics in the industry and within science, as it goes beyond the fitness industry. We're talking about holistic health and Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and all this stuff. It just seems to be something that elicits an emotional response from people.
Right.
And so the objective practice of science has gone completely out the window when it comes to fascia for some reason. I think that only happens when there's like real truth in what's being said on the speculative side.
Yep.
And when that's threatening to mainstream beliefs. Because if it was obviously nonsense and there was nothing to it, no one would feel threatened by it. If it was also really clear cut and easy to identify with like current scientific approaches and techniques, then everyone would just adopt to it, I think. Although
No.
science is, what do they say? Science progresses one funeral at a time.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to wait for the old guard to literally die off before
Yeah.
beliefs particularly change.
Yeah.
Science is not science itself. Science is just a tool that humans can use, and we do so very poorly.
Got you.
But the scientific establishment is probably the most zealous religion going, pretty much.
Interesting.
Yeah. Also, this is not going to be a conspiracy theory podcast,
Great, fine.
unfortunately.
I'm not good with the conspiracy theories, John.
Nor am I. But I got asked. I was getting my hair cut a few months ago, and the guy cutting my hair is a proper
Is he?
conspiracy guy.
Okay.
And he's like, at a couple of things I talked about, he thought like maybe I was as well. He was like, "You're a conspiracy guy," and I was like, "No, like I'm a truth guy." So the conspiracy theory for the sake of a conspiracy theory stuff, I have no interest and no energy.
No
in
time.
It. Like, but the idea of the psychology of people on both sides of any given conspiracy theory is really interesting. Should we go on a proper tangent?
Okay,
Just
let's
a
go.
short one.
Go
a
on.
short one. So, flat Earth, which is probably the silliest conspiracy theory.
Yep.
We've just lost all of our flat Earth audience now.
That's it. We're back down to some followers.
yeah, we're doing so well. We've got to like 9.
Oh, damn it.
Damn it. So this is an interesting anecdote about about critical thinking and I suppose a bit about cognitive dissonance, which is that this morning with, what's his name, Schofield and Holly Willoughby.
The only way to say
they
it.
had, what did I say? They had the flat earth guy on. And they obviously just thought, well, he's an idiot and a raving lunatic, and we're sensible, rational people.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a debate. He's going to look really silly and funny on TV, and we're going to look super smart. And they had him on, and they were not ready for how prepared and eloquent and intelligent he was. And he brought all these models. And like, if you were basing your opinion on that debate, you'd be like, oh, it's flat all day long.
Really?
Well, he just rinsed them because he had all these problems that they couldn't argue with because they've not given it any thought.
No.
So we actually mentioned this in the last episode about how you can be right for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And that applies to them. Not picking on them,
Yeah,
just two people that hosted a TV show. But I think people do that a lot of the time where we hear stuff, and for lack of a better word, we get indoctrinated into certain truths, and we never actually critically appraise them. Even if there's like minimal utility in appraising it because it's so obviously true. That almost becomes the most dangerous type of truth because then it's dogma and you can't question it.
No.
So, like, to be able to argue with that guy and to disprove flat Earth theory, it would be quite difficult for the average person.
I wouldn't be able to.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to.
Right?
For
So
sure.
we have all these beliefs that we actually don't have a good personal basis or understanding for. So as another example, again, I don't even think this counts as a conspiracy theory because it's just an alternative model of history. But Graham Hancock, he's just a journalist who proposes that there were ancient civilizations that were more technologically advanced than we give them credit for, and that they existed pre the most recent ice age, which is about 10,000 years ago. And we've pretty much got no recorded history before 10,000 years, very little between 10 and sort of 4,000 years ago. And he makes just this proposal, and he's not even super firm on it or what it looks like, it's just a speculation. And he gets absolutely, like, attacked in the most horrific way. And it's stupid attacks, so he gets called racist for having that opinion, which there's some leaps there. And he brought out a Netflix documentary called Ancient Apocalypse, and the hysteria from like the archaeological establishment was crazy because they were calling it the most dangerous show on Netflix.
Wow.
And there were a few like archaeological sites that wouldn't let him in because he was doing a show about maybe an older civilization did this. And again, he's not saying this is a fact.
Yeah.
He's very open about the fact that it's speculation, and he's not allowed to do it. Damn it. How dare you?
How dare you?
We've already written the textbooks. It'd be so expensive to rewrite some of them. And that's basically how it is with fascia. So,
Coming back.
yeah, let's actually start the podcast. But you kind of need to get people into the right frame of mind for this conversation. So just for ease of how we're going to have conversations about it, I'm going to say lots of things that are my understanding, my speculation, and kind of my feeling about what's true about fascia.
Yep.
I'm not stating any of this as absolute fact, even though I think some of it probably could be justified as fact.
Right.
But there are very credentialed, established, reputable minds who have looked at this topic and would disagree that some of what I'm going to say is a fact at all.
Okay.
Which is very interesting.
Okay.
Because it means that unless you're doing the research, you really don't know, and that's my get out of jail clause at the start of this podcast.
Fair enough.
The basic premise of fascia is that it's connective tissue. So when you buy your meat from the butcher and it's got that sort of wrapping and casing around it, that's fascia. And for the longest time, when we've done dissections of the body, we've cut it all open and we found some interesting bits, and we've found skin and bone and muscle and nerves and lymph and all that. And for the most part, we've taken all of the connective tissue and just thrown it in the bin. Like, okay, this stuff's just in the way. It's just webbing inside that's annoying and in the way.
Yeah.
And then I just think from the get-go that's foolish.
Yeah.
Because biology, evolution, etc., doesn't waste.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah, it doesn't
for
waste too much.
Sure.
And it's also we know now, I don't know when we found this out, but it's deeply innervated. So it's got more nerve endings than muscle. So we think about muscles all the time, like they give us pain and feedback and they help us move and all this stuff.
Yep.
But fascia's doing that seemingly to a greater extent than muscle. So that's why we use the word myofascial release, muscle and fascia,
Yep.
because they do certainly work together. We'll bring up another controversial name in this topic, which is Tom Myers. So he basically pioneered some research, some dissections, where instead of going in and looking at the muscles and chopping them end to end, so you've got a biceps here, and at either end you've got tendons,
Yep.
and so you chop through the tendon, everything in the middle is the bicep, that's what we're interested in, there we go. He turns the scalpel sideways, and he threads it along the tissue. And so he goes muscle, tendon, muscle, tendon, muscle, tendon, and found that it flowed in one continuous strand through the body in repeatable patterns across different bodies.
Right.
That's what he calls slings. And he's documented all of that in a book called Anatomy Trains. And for the longest time, I just thought, well, if he's done that research and it's documented and it's recorded, then that's just fact. Like, this is a physical fact.
Yeah.
So you can't really argue it. In the last year or so, I've seen a lot of people arguing it. Some of the arguments are completely ridiculous. So some people reject that approach because he's not a physiologist.
Right.
Who fucking cares
Yeah.
what he is if he's
Yeah.
done the work? Like, critique the work. Don't critique him.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's a fucking fisherman or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, if he's done the work, he's done the work, especially if it's documented. So then you could say, well, okay, maybe he's manipulated how he's using the scalpel. And that's possible, that's plausible. And so the thing that was interesting about when he came out with the slings is that we've named them now. We've got posterior oblique sling and anterior oblique sling. We've got lateral lines and arm lines and all this stuff. And they all correspond to movements, natural human movements. So the posterior oblique sling, it's a little, like, as a reductionist description of it, is the glute and the opposite side lat,
Yep.
and they're connected through thoracolumbo-fascia. So basically just a load of connective tissue in the middle, essentially a tendon in the middle.
Yep.
And that means that when we run, we have a glute and a lat that are pulling together to pull opposite arm and leg backwards, which is why we run with what's called contralateral reciprocation,
Yep.
which is an annoyingly, like, technical sounding word for the most basic human movement. So when you say contralateral reciprocation, people are like, oh, he's using big words to
Yep.
sound clever. And it's so annoying, 'cause I wish it was just
a
simple word,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's why we move, well, that's part and parcel of why we move like that. And there's lots of other slings. So we've got the anterior oblique sling, I think is an interesting one to talk about. So that's where we've got the obliques on one side. We've got the adductor, so the groin muscle on the opposite side. And then you've got the fascia that runs in the middle across the pelvis.
Yep.
And the thing that's interesting about that is when you look at, like, all powerful sporting actions, they are done through oblique twists. So you don't kick a ball with your leg in a straight line, like extending through the knee and flexing through the hip. You come across. It's a rotation across the body.
Yeah.
So you open up the oblique and the adductor, and then they squeeze together. It's almost like they're acting as one big long muscle
Yep.
that pulls the body into a smaller space across itself.
Yeah.
All powerful sporting motions operate through that system. So you can throw a jab in boxing, but it's only when you punch across your body that you have, like, knockout power.
Got you.
When you're playing tennis, you play across the body. As I say, kicking a ball, etc. Throwing a ball, you can't put it very far, but you can throw it really far.
Yeah.
Again, because of the access to more myofascial tension across these slings, if they exist.
Yeah.
People have asked me the question in the last year, what have you seen about this research that says that the slings don't objectively exist? My answer to that is, I don't care. I don't care, because the thing that's interesting about the slings is that they correspond to human movement. So if I read that paper and it concluded that we should no longer be running with contralateral reciprocation, we should now be playing tennis with completely straight lines just moving forward, not across the body, and that the most powerful punch in boxing is now a jab, then that would be ridiculous. So it's like we can get caught up in what question science is trying to answer versus what does it actually practically mean. So the people that that say that the fascial slings don't objectively exist make the point that you can manipulate. Trying to repeat the mosquito catch. It was never getting close enough. The people say don't objectively exist say that everything from head to toe is connected via fascia. And so you can go in whatever direction you want with your scalpel and you'll still make these connections. So you could arbitrarily say, you know, that the tongue is connected to the thumb and you can make inferences like that. And you know what? They're also right. Because fascia, even the way I described it, how it goes tendon, muscle, tendon in this sort of flowing line, and that it's slings, the slings are also integrated. They're not actually, strictly speaking, separate from each other.
Got you, okay.
Fascia is a continuous web that goes through everything in our body. So it's not just muscles, it's organs, it's bones, it's blood vessels, it's nerves. And you can follow the collagen fibers, which is essentially like the individual unit of fascia, sort of. You can follow that down to the cellular level. So fascia is like the matrix upon which the structure of our body is imprinted. And there's a whole different approach to how we think about the body's movement. And we touched on this in a previous episode about compression expansion as opposed to a leverage model, which is where we think the skeleton gives the body structure, then the muscles pull the bones around. But actually they're all suspended within this sort of fluid tension that fascia creates. And they give the muscle its structure. They give the muscle like context in which they can bind and pull. So if you took the fascia away, the muscle's just like a bit of a gooey blob that can't pull against anything. So the fascia is what allows muscle to pull. And the extent to which that's true, I suppose, is the only thing that gets argued, because no one would argue that there is a complex of muscle and tendon and that they work together to create output, so springiness. And it's definitely true that one can't operate without the other. If you took all the muscle out of the body, I don't believe you'd move very well. But there's this sort of interesting pushback, and we can talk about why that is, against quote-unquote fascia training, which is that you can't move and you can't train in any way that doesn't involve fascia because it is so deeply embedded in our structure. So the moment you lift your arms up, you're training your fascia. The moment you take a step, you're training fascia. And Jo made a really good point about this. She said that you could say that about anything. So you could say that because my heart is beating when I do a heavy squat, I no longer need to do cardio. There's no point doing dedicated cardiovascular training because it's always beating. It's beating whenever I lift weights or whenever I do anything. So why would I do cardio training? And so you could say the same thing about fascia, which is that, yes, it's involved with everything we do. It is integrated. But how do we optimize it to its maximum potential as a connective tissue that also contributes to propulsion? And so there are some studies that, again, I take them at face value. I'm not going to spend too much energy diving into it because I don't think it makes a practical difference to my life, where they've looked at how much propulsion sprinters create over 100 meters from muscle and how much from fascia. So muscle is an actively respiring tissue. So for muscle to work, it has to metabolize and it has to essentially burn oxygen. And so you can then calculate mechanically how much movement in their limbs is happening to displace their bodies 100 meters. And then you can calculate how much oxygen they would burn to make that happen if it was a purely muscular event. And the number that they came up with for elite sprinters is about 50%.
Wow, okay.
So only half of their propulsion came from muscle. So the other half is coming from something, and that something is the passive is probably the wrong word, but the non-respiring elasticity that the structure of fascia can give you.
Got you, right, okay.
And then I guess part of the confusion is the fact that fascia can only do that when the muscles are doing the right thing.
Okay.
And that's one of the ways to think about the muscular role, is that a lot of the time we're not training the muscle to just be concentric and eccentric and pull us and move us around.
Yeah.
It's designed to hold isometric tension within that complex to then give the bounce on either side from the connective tissue.
Right.
So you can look at someone, like pogo hops, where you're just bouncing on the balls of your feet, or like what the Maasai do. If you've never Googled like Maasai jumping.
I've seen it. Yeah.
So these sort of Kenyan tribes that they just bounce on the soles of their feet. They're barely bending their knees. Some of them are bending their knees, but like you can jump really high without bending your knees, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
And yes, the calves are a strong muscle. They've got an interesting like insertion angle that gives them really good leverage. They're super strong. But they can't push you super high. And you can kind of test this. So if I just, we're deferring to the YouTube audience here. So I'm going to stand up. If I don't bounce, if I just push as hard as I can into the ground with my calves, I can barely get off the floor.
Yeah.
But if I bounce and jump,
Yeah.
I can get very high off the floor.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's because of the elastic. And like the Achilles and the plantar fascia are some of the most deeply, I don't know what the word is, like fasciated parts of the body.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously playing a massive role in why I'm able to bounce off the floor so high.
Okay.
It's not just my calves landing and pushing me off, because they can't do that very well.
Yeah.
Another example that I thought was quite nice is if you put your hand on a table with your fingers splayed out, just lift your middle finger, you can try this now, and push as hard as you can into the ground. You can't really make a big noise.
No, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
If I use that,
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
way, way, way more power by creating that elastic flick.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so my muscle itself can't push very hard.
Yeah.
But if I harness the elasticity of fascia, suddenly that output, with that, it feels like 10 times stronger.
Yeah.
And so we can ignore it, or we can be open-minded and say, okay, maybe we don't fully understand all of its role and how it generates propulsion. And we can seek to optimize that in training. And another funny thing is that like, the argument comes from gym people. So people who like heavy squats and people who like lifting and people who like training muscles. They're like, we're already training fascia, so why do we need to do this other functional bollocks? Like, it's not gonna give us any additional benefit. But then, like, you look at sprint coaches and they will all talk about elastic athletes. So they've got some athletes that are just muscle driven and they use more muscle and they push more. And they've got athletes who are just super bouncy, effortless spring. And a lot of them aren't very muscular at all, but they're putting out enormous outputs. They're jumping incredibly high, jumping far, running fast, but they don't have big muscles. They're not producing a lot of force in concentric only environments. They can create a ton of stiffness that harnesses that fascia elasticity. And the idea that you can't improve that is just, again, one of these lazy ideas. I'm not saying like that I definitely know that I can definitely improve this thing with this strategy. But again, we have to ask the question, can we not seek to do better?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, since training here and coaching here, the only times I've heard fascia talked about is here. I've never heard it before in all my years of playing rugby and coaching and then working with other people. So it's really interesting. But again, it's something that I look at and I read and I'm like, it doesn't make sense. That physical demonstration kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then actually it makes me think about different athletes and the different roles that they have and the way that they're built. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So you don't need to have the most massive calves to be a 100-meter sprinter, like Usain Bolt.
Well, like almost all of them have small calves.
Yeah.
They often have really ripped and shredded calves. But they often have small calves because their role is not concentric eccentric, which is what builds muscle. Their role is stiffness and holding isometrically. So you think about a wall bridge, and we coach the ankle stiffness in that context, and we get the tension elsewhere. We feel hamstring and glutes. So this is another thing, right? Is that if you've got a stiff ankle that can strike the ground and not deform, now we've created a tensioned platform where our hips and our powerful extensors can then push us forward. So we can integrate. We can create fascial bounce from the calf and propulsive push from the glutes, which is what should happen. what you'll see from people who have lost a load of hip internal rotation, or their pelvis, which is the same thing, their pelvis is really far forward, they often have massive calves relative to the rest of their body, overly developed calves. And that's because their hips are so far forward that they don't have a glute that can push them, because they're already at the end of where they need to be.
Yeah.
And so they've got a calf that's being a calf and it's being a glute. It's
you.
doing all of their pushing.
Yeah.
And so the calf pretty much can't escape the workload, because when your foot hits the ground, the calf's right there. It's like the next thing that's going to work. So it's always going to work. But for your glutes to work optimally, you kind of need everything else below the glutes to be doing their role appropriately, to transfer the force from the foot strike to the hips.
Yeah.
And if there's a gap in that, so if the knee extends really early, then we've lost the myofascial transmission. And this is the thing, is that whether it's muscles, whether it's fascia, like it just doesn't matter. We can see when force gets propagated through the body well, and it does that through joints that are slightly flexed, not deeply flexed, slightly flexed, and that maintain stiffness. Now, stiffness doesn't mean rigidity, two different things.
Yeah.
If you're rigid, you're just going to strike and be brittle.
Yep.
You need to have a tiny bit of yield, and then it's then got to reform.
Yep.
And that's what allows the movement through the body. Here's the thing, when people say like that you can't optimize fascia, or that fascia training is a waste of time, or whatever, I look at them and I'm like, you kind of must be, almost by definition, a poor athlete. That's probably going to piss some people off.
That's going to set a few people interesting.
The reason I say that is because if you perform a movement that requires fascial integration to be optimized, like throwing a ball, if you kind of know it's happening and you can harness it and you can train it, you can feel its improvement. In the same way that, like, let's say you spend 6 months building really big triceps, and then you go back to bench press and you're like, oh, I'm so much stronger, I can feel my triceps working. You can feel the benefit of fascia training, where if you train with the right patterns, with the right tension and the right intent, and sort of just the right structural approach to what you're doing, you can then go and throw a ball and be like, oh, wow, okay, those connections are money.
Yeah.
They are making me throw super far. And this is what we did with Joe. This is why whenever we take the dog to the beach, like every single time we go to the beach with the dog, we get comments, both of us,
Really?
about how far we're throwing the ball.
Wow.
We're throwing it, like, you've got people with those throwing arms.
Yeah.
We throw the ball like easily twice as far as even like normal people, not just like old deers that are just sort of putting it for their little dashend on the beach. Like people that are throwing it quite far, and we'll just cannon it way further than those people. And they always comment like, goodness me, that's further than I can throw with my helper arm.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, you pressed? You can train all of the muscles involved in throwing and not throw very far. And then people say, well, it's a coordination thing. And I agree with it. I agree with it.
Yeah.
So I think a big problem with culture in general, but certainly within the fitness industry, is that you say, oh, fascia is involved in this, and we can actually train to optimize fascia's role within it. And they'll say, oh, so what, muscles don't matter then? And oh, it's just coordination, and oh, it's just specific training. It's like, yeah, exactly. It is all those things, and that's how we optimize fascia. And it's funny that all these arguments like get taken to the extreme version of what you say. This is what we said in episode 1. People take the most extreme, most reductionist version of what you're implying, and then they critique that.
Yeah.
They don't see the integration of all of the arguments.
Who was the gent that you mentioned? Was it Tom Myers? He brought a book out called Anatomy Trains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a really interesting guy to listen to. And again, it sort of doesn't matter how objectively true all of it is. He's got interesting perspectives that you can leverage into practical takeaways.
Yeah.
So he talks about the fact that what fascia really loves is bouncing. It's a bouncy tissue.
Yeah.
It's what they call viscoelastic, which means that it has different properties depending on what forces and what speeds you're stimulating it with. So you ever heard of like non-Newtonian I was going to say surfaces or solids or liquids.
I'm going to say no.
So custard's something like this.
Okay, yeah.
Where it's a liquid and you can put your hand into it and you can go all the way through it really easily. But if you punch it, it's like a brick.
Yeah.
Fascia's like that.
Okay.
And so it has properties that are super interesting. If it was just connective tissue, if it was just glue that's just holding you together, I just don't think it would be so interesting by coincidence or by accident.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it does interesting things, not because it's just passively there and happens to be accidentally interesting. And yeah, so he talks about the fact that it's bouncy. So if you want to stimulate fascia, you want to think about bouncing. And I think about that when I'm coaching people. It's like, okay, this person's really stiff somewhere. I want to get bounce into that tissue. I don't want to stretch it, because I think that actually usually makes stiffness worse.
Yep.
I don't think. I see that it regularly makes stiffness worse, even if it increases flexibility, because those are two different things. I want to make them bounce. So I'll do swings in those ranges and just teach them how to keep tension. So like the discus swing with a kettlebell. What a great way of like opening up the chest and stimulating that whole oblique line and stimulating like the arm lines of fascia. And yeah, it's just, there's loads of different ways of doing that. That's why I think swings are so important, because they teach you how to bounce, not just how to move in and out of a range, but how to bounce, how to create stiffness, how to modulate tension. So if you think about, you know, you love your kickstand front foot elevated kettlebell swing for the quads. Like, one of the things that's so lovely about that is that you bounce at the bottom, and it's not just a continuous tension all the way down and or tension all the way up. It's phases of tension that you have to then coordinate. And that's what movement is. Like, the moment you take away a barbell and dumbbells, movement is like phases of tension that come in and out. Like when you're running, you can't just be stiff and rigid. It's not just about force production. It's about relaxation. How quickly can you turn muscles off? And therefore how well can you bounce and allow that?
And again, it comes down to feeling, doesn't it? It comes down to how you're feeling that movement.
And that's stuff that you can train and you can improve it. And I've seen it improved. And like, I'll probably come back to this loads as we talk about these sort of controversial scientific topics. Like, if I watch something work over and over and over again with my clients, I don't care how many thousands of studies you show that say, oh, well, actually, fascia is just connective tissue. Like, well, I don't care. And I also don't care if I'm wrong about it being fascia. Like, I'd like to know. I want to know everything that I'm doing. But we have to do some things that we don't know everything about. There has to be some room for speculation within the practice.
Absolutely.
So yeah, again, just another like thought about the types of questions that science can answer. If you came to me and you said, all swans are white, I'd be like, okay, let's set up a study. You go and get some swans. And you come in the next day with 1 million white swans. And you're like, see, told you. All you've given me there is a very good likelihood, well, not even a very good likelihood, but a likelihood that you're correct. All I have to do is bring you one black swan, and then I prove that you're wrong. So data is not like equivalent. Like, there are some data points that in and of themselves, so some, like, people talk about the fact that no single study proves anything. And it's sort of true, but it's also sometimes not true. It depends what the question is. There are some single studies that can disprove an entire like field of inquiry, provided that they're legitimate and replicatable, and et cetera, and they're not just manipulated. And so yeah, fascia's just, it's so strange. Because then people have also done some mental gymnastics around the fact that I saw a post literally a couple of days ago on Instagram, basically talking about what I just talked about there, about the bounce. And someone said, like, this is what fascia's doing. And this very popular, well-known Instagram physio was saying, oh God, all this fascia bollocks again. Fascia is connective tissue, nothing more, nothing less. He's getting propulsion because of his tendon. And I'm like, right, well, my understanding is that tendon is fascia. So the casing that goes around your muscle all comes together. We sort of run out of muscle, and then all of that casing becomes a very thick meeting of fascia. And we define that as tendon. And I was like, oh, I've never actually heard anyone say that it's a different structure or a different material. And I Googled it. And again, you get two different perspectives. Even on Google, even within the Google AI review, I still got, it depends what your sort of vocabulary is about how you're defining things. Because it said, yes, tendon and fascia are different things. I was like, okay, what are they made of? And they're basically made of the exact same thing. So I'm like, are they different things, or is one a subset of the other?
Okay.
That's what I think it is. So here's like an example of that. See the skin on the top of my knuckle?
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Like it's all loose and it looks different and it feels different, like it's a bit rougher than the skin like on my tummy.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm not saying that that's not skin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's skin that's become a different type of skin because of its location and therefore its function. It has to accommodate like a really weird movement. So it's just got slightly different properties and maybe slightly different structure.
Yeah.
Still fucking skin.
Yeah.
And that's how I see fascia. Fascia is the global term for the web of collagen that moves and connects our entire body. And sometimes it has different roles depending on its location and how dense it is and what it's surrounding, and if it's around bone or whether it's around muscle, it's probably doing slightly different roles.
Yeah.
I don't think that means that we can just say fascia's nonsense, everyone talking about fascia is a snake oil salesman. It's just, again, the logical leaps just astound me, and it just smacks to me of people having an emotional response to a topic that they don't like because they don't like the people, or they don't like the ideas.
Or they just don't have an understanding.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of these people do have an understanding, and I think they refuse to see the other side of it.
Got you. Okay.
And okay, so let's give them their credit. I think some of that is because there are people out there who invoke the word fascia and then think that they're doing this really cool, new wave, like modern, intriguing, holistic practice.
Right.
And sometimes they're actually just not. So, for example, I had a new client the other day, and we were talking about structure, and we were talking about why she's got terrible lower back pain. She's stretched her entire life, and she had surgery in her early 30s for sciatica.
Jeez.
But again, as with all these people, seemingly strong, mobile, athletic, but still needed surgery in her early 30s. And I'm explaining to her how my perspective is that I don't think stretching is good. I think it may have even contributed to why this is happening, because it compromises tensegrity. Tensegrity being the tensioned integrity of all of our tissues.
Yep.
And fascia is obviously implied in that. Like tensegrity is a fascial phenomenon, first and foremost. And she said, "Oh, tensegrity, that's what my mum does." And I was like, "What? what do you mean? Like it's a thing, not a practice. What do you mean though?" And she said, "I'll send you a video." And she sent me the video. And essentially, it was kind of yoga.
Okay.
And some of it I thought was good. Some of it I thought was actively bad. And some of it I thought was just sort of pointless waste. And what was interesting is that her opening spiel, she's talking about fascia, and that's why the program's called Tensegrity. And she's talking about how there's connected tensions throughout the body, and we want to harness those. And we want to address fascial adhesions, which is another thing we should talk about before we wrap this episode up.
Yeah.
And she's talking about all this stuff. She's talking about hydrating fascia. So we need to fascia that moves well and glides really nicely is hydrated. That's why it's able to move in that way. And when it gets dehydrated, it becomes sticky and claggy. I sort of visualize it like tree wax or tree sap. And that inhibits movement. And that's a lot of what stiffness is. Everything that she's saying at the start of this program is like, I think, good and interesting and is a forward step for the industry. But the practical way that she implemented it, I don't see how it improved tensegrity. Almost all of it was on the floor. So I'm like, well, immediately, like we're kind of getting away from why tensegrity matters, which is to support and suspend a structure and to then promote propulsion.
Yeah.
And there were bits where she's sort of moving across the body, and I suppose therefore by definition she's integrating multiple joints because there's two things that are moving.
Yeah.
But I don't see that there's tension and suspension across big lines of the body that correspond to movements that require tensegrity.
Yeah.
And so she said all the right things. She's talked about fascia, the whole program's around fascia, but what she's doing is largely bollocks, in my opinion. But she's used all the right words. And so I think practitioners will often look at that and maybe be a bit even more dismissive than I've just been and been like, oh, that's a total waste of time. Because if their perspective is muscle strength and muscle length, then she's not doing any stretching, she's not doing any force production, so like there's no strength involved, so they would probably write off that practice completely as like an utter waste of time. And maybe they're right. And so then they put everyone that's along those lines that's using the word fascia within their training, and oh, this is fascia training, and oh, this is tensegrity training. They're like, oh, more bollocks from the fascia like brigade. And maybe they're justified in saying that, but that doesn't mean you can write off every single practice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my frustration. It's just lazy. It's intellectually lazy. And humans do it with everything. We put things into buckets and categories because it makes our lives easier. But we throw the baby out with the bathwater. What did I say we needed to talk about? Fascial adhesions.
Yeah.
So massage therapists forever have talked about, oh, there's a knot there, and that's a fascial adhesion, and let me work it out, and they can run their thumbs over it. And then there have been cadaver dissections where they're looking for adhesions and they can't find them.
Okay.
So it's a really hard thing to quantify. They seem to be a living body phenomenon rather than a dead body phenomenon.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we should all be more interested in living bodies than dead bodies, personally. And yeah, it's just really hard to define and to measure what an adhesion is. But I think everyone listening to this will probably have an intuitive knowing, like experience of, yeah, I had this knot and I could feel it, like I could push on it and it was slightly painful, felt nice when I pressed on it, and it felt lumpy underneath my skin. And that's a knot, like everyone knows what a muscle knot kind of feels like.
Yeah.
And they know what it's like when a massage therapist or a tennis ball works it out. But you'll find that there's a lot of people that say none of that exists and it's all placebo and it's all illusion.
Okay, interesting.
And it's like, I get that both of those things are implied in every intervention that we do. I don't believe it can be that consistent. Like I don't think I'm being hoodwinked into what I can physically feel with my fingers as a knot and then it going away.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's placebo. It feeling better might be partly placebo.
Yeah.
I believe that placebo can be implied in why it feels better. I also think there's something mechanical going on, and specifically with like fascial hydration mechanisms, what gets proposed is that fascia acts kind of like a sponge. You squeeze the sponge underwater, it pushes water out and away.
Yeah.
And then when you release it, water rushes back in.
Right.
That's why massage works.
Makes sense,
is the thought. I think there's other factors to it as well. There's another really interesting role that fascia plays. It's piezoelectric.
Right.
So a piezoelectric crystal is one that when you compress it, it creates like an electrical current.
Right.
It liberates electrons and they can move. Fascia has that property. So when you compress fascia, it creates an electrical current. That current is actually what stimulates bone to be laid down, basically.
Oh, right.
So when people say that bone densifies and that like lifting weights is good for osteoporosis and osteopenia, etc., it's pretty likely, and I think a fact, that it's because of the compression of the fascia that creates the electrical signal for bone to get laid down.
I see, okay.
There's a very cool book called The Body Electric that talks about how electrical signaling is what causes bone regeneration, and it is regeneration. It's literally what salamanders do to regenerate limbs. That's how bone heals, which is different from other tissues. Super interesting book for loads of reasons. But yeah, that compression of the fascia is why it's good for bone and joint health, because of the electrical signaling. That's an interesting property of something that's just a connective bag that we want to throw away when we dissect tissues. It's also layered, and the charges that it creates move through it as a superconductor. So the electricity moves through the body at the speed of electricity. There's no resistance when it moves through fascia. So fascia is a superconducting highway of communication through the body. The implications of that could be massive, could be vast, could impact on all of our cellular health, because all of our energetics, our metabolism is all electrical. It's mitochondria taking electrons and moving it through proteins to create an electrical gradient, and that's how we create the energy to do everything.
Right.
Fascia, very likely plays a role in that. Have we got that all mapped out? No. Do I know that those are necessarily linked? No, but it makes sense. Like the mechanisms are all there and they're all linked. I'm waiting for more research to get done on it. I don't have the facility to do it. But I'm very open to that being part of its integrated role as well.
Yeah.
Is there more stuff? Acupuncture.
Okay.
So acupuncture is a fascial practice.
Yeah.
And again, kind of referring to the same thing where electricity moves through the body. So people who've had acupuncture, I've never actually had acupuncture.
I've had acupuncture.
Did you feel electrical little zaps and
Yeah,
stimuli?
I suppose so. Yeah. It's more like, it's like a sharp pinch, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, like.
Some people feel it as like a very definitive, like electrical crackling.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, that might be a really good way of describing it. Yeah, you can, like, I wouldn't know how to. That's probably the best way to describe it, but not all the time. But yeah, certainly.
It depends, because you'll hit little nodes.
Yeah, okay,
where
right.
it's more stimulating than others.
Yeah, and I've had it, and you feel it. It almost feels like it's spreading out. So it goes in, and it
Right.
feels like it goes
Interesting.
out. Like sometimes, or it'll be like a sharp like pinprick. And I wouldn't say instant release. I wouldn't say like anything instantly goes away. But I've had it a lot in my shoulders and my neck over the years.
Do you mind me asking why you had acupuncture?
I used to go to the chiropractor.
There are some really good chiropractors.
Yeah, so I used to go to the chiropractor quite regularly because I thought I had to. I suppose this comes down to thinking that I needed to be on top of my body maintenance in a particular way, and I thought that chiropractor was one of them.
That you have to do prehab
Yeah.
in order to train,
Yeah.
in order to live,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it can't all be integrated.
And I loved the feeling that it would give me, and that almost instant, like almost
Yeah.
a decompression type release. And I saw them for my shin splints. That's a horrific place to get acupuncture, by the way. Or it was
I
for
can
me.
imagine.
But I haven't had chiropractic treatment in a long time. I have taken Ada to a chiropractor, but he operates in a slightly different way, and we'll get into him and maybe away from this episode, and I'll introduce you to him. Because I can't even think that, I don't want to do him a disservice, so I'm not going to try and explain what he does. But it's not like a very traditional chiropractor. But when Ada was born, she was born like this, where she was compressed for so long. And for those that are listening, she had like compression on one side of her body. So she didn't feed very well when she breastfed on one side, but she did on the other because she was like in this compressed position. She's obviously much better now, and as you have seen, is an absolute lunatic. But yeah, that's so coming back to your question, I went to chiropractic because I thought I had to, because I thought I needed it for maintenance. Over the years where I haven't had it and my training has changed to less traditional, more movement-based, I haven't needed it. I have massages, not regularly, but I have them when I feel like I want to treat myself more than anything.
Yeah, it just feels nice.
Yeah, so, and again, yeah, it fit, but that, what you're saying about like knots and things, that makes sense. Like the way that you're describing it, and I can see how we would do it. We wouldn't be able to find that in a dead body.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It does make sense.
Yeah. So.
Interesting. So, I'm very open to acupuncture working and having mechanisms that are objectively true and effective. I have more skepticism when it comes to acupuncturists. And I think it's a shame that like a lot of these holistic practices, they often get adopted by people who are just alternative by default. Like that's just how they go about life. They're an alternative person. And I think being alternative for the sake of being alternative is foolish. And I also think it's equally foolish to be strictly, I was going to say evidence-based, but research-based.
Yeah.
Because I think research is so spectacularly limited. It's so poor at what it claims to do.
Yeah.
Some things it's fantastic at. Again, it depends what the question is.
Yeah.
So there are some that you'll hear me refer to research quite a lot because I think it answers some questions really well, and it also gives you like a backing for some practices that are just sort of nice to. It's nice to flesh out the whole gambit of we're doing this because of this, and you can see that from this research.
Yeah.
But there are some questions that it just doesn't answer very well. And the research into acupuncture is kind of funny, because if I try and think of an analogy, it's like, imagine if you'd never seen a cup. And I show you this cup, and I'm like, the reason it works is because of this secret hidden space inside that is like a container, right?
Yeah.
And then I give it to you to research that space inside. And the first thing you do is you hit it with a hammer to try and open it up to look for it. And you go, well, I'm not finding any space in here. That's stupid, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how the acupuncture research went,
Okay.
which is that, you know, the ancient Chinese practitioners talked about channels, acupuncture channels through the body. And so we did these cadaver dissections. We're opening up, we're tearing everything out and, you know, throwing it all away. And we're like, I'm not finding any channels. It's like, right, well, you've thrown away the stuff that comprises the channels. So the channels are the layers of fascia. And like I said, they're superconducting communication highways through the body.
Yeah.
And that, as much as anything in this episode, that on itself is a fact. Does that mean that you can influence qi and organ health? I'm inclined to say yes. Have we mapped that out from a Western perspective? Certainly not. But does that mean we just write it off as being woo-woo?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Like, there's mechanistic plausibility is what I'm getting at there. Does that mean if I got cancer tomorrow, I'd go to an acupuncturist and not have any chemo? No. But let's just be open to stuff. That's probably like the main message of this entire podcast. Let's just be open to integrating holistic and established practices. Let's be open to speculation, and let's play around with it, especially when it's harmless. So can we engage with what might be called fascia training? Yeah, because some of it is just good. Even if it's not actually doing anything special to the fascia, it's still moving in patterns and in ways and with modalities that are relevant to athleticism and to healthy movement. So this idea of bounce and integration and rotation, contralateral reciprocation, they're all essential, whether or not it's doing anything particularly interesting to the fascia. I happen to think it probably is, but it doesn't really matter.
Did you mention in one of our first episodes about fascia dying off at a particular age?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Tom Myers thing.
Is it? Okay.
48.
48.
What Tom Myers says is 48 is the age where your arms become too short.
Oh.
Because someone gives you a menu at a restaurant, you cannot hold it far away enough because you just can't see it. So you'll see people after the age of 48, that's where they move everything really far away to look at.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone knows what that image looks like. And that's because it's literally the fascia in your eyes that becomes dehydrated, and it just can't focus as well. It just through movement. And fascia is why you get crow's feet that form. Like it's the dehydration of fascia over time. Now you're dehydrating your whole life. So to put a stamp on 48 is probably a little bit silly. Like you're not perfect until 48 and then awful afterwards. It's a gradual dehydration. When babies are born, there was like a measure of fluidity, but they were like 90+%, and it gets down to like 30 by the time you're in your 90s. So you're always dehydrating. There's an argument to say that aging is the process of dehydration, and nothing more fundamental than that. So the more you can stay hydrated, the younger you'll be. And that's, you know, in terms of how we define youth, apart from chronologically, we define it by like your physical capacities, and we also define it by your appearance. And the younger your face looks, like the less cracks and wrinkles it has, the healthier your fascia, so the more hydrated it is. And you can hydrate your fascia through optimal movement practices. This is, I suppose, another thing that evidence-based people get hung up on is that you hydrate by drinking. And it's like, drinking is how you put water in your body. But hydration is what your body does with that water. So if you just drink and drink and drink, you just pee it out. It's just pouring through you like a tube. Is water getting into your cells, into your tissues? Is it spreading through your body? And that's not a complete given. Like, it's always doing it a little bit. But again, I firmly believe that is something you can optimize. And the best way to optimize that is through movement. And so then the next argument is, are there some movements that do that better than others?
Okay.
And I would say yes. So does squatting allow water to move through your body? Yes, like the moment you've got muscular tension, it is going to push water into different areas of your body. If we move in one line and one plane constantly over and over again, we're creating a pattern where water is going in one direction. If we're moving in spirals and turns, water's going around the whole system. So walking is just the fundamental representation of how we would use our structure and the lines of connective tissue through the body, which all spiral up the body. That motion is going to be inherently the best way to move water through the system, which is why it's such a good de-stiffener. You could do something that burns as many calories and moves as many joints as walking, and it won't be as good at making you feel less stiff.
Interesting.
I think that's a really important takeaway for people.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to one of our original questions, which is movement is movement. There's no good movement, there's no bad movement. Bullshit. It's not that there's bad movement. I think there is bad movement. You can punch yourself in the face. Like,
Stupid.
and it will burn calories, and it will move water around your body. And you could even argue that it will give you like a hormetic effect. It will toughen you up. You know, you'll get better at being punched in the face if you punch yourself in the face a few times. Struggling to come up with another benefit.
I can't think of any, John.
It's not a movement I recommend.
No.
Because there's other consequences to it. And so there's better and better movements. And the reason we say that walking, running, throwing are the big three, like every line of inquiry comes back to that. Anatomically, that's what we're set up for. Functionally, that's how we evolved. That's why humans have a different structure to apes, because we got really good at running long distances and we got really good at throwing, like really good at throwing. And that's how those movements are therefore the archetypes for how we best stimulate muscle. It's how we best stimulate our brains as well. This is why babies crawl, because they contralaterally reciprocate.
Yep.
They link sides of their body. Babies, you know, they have to do that to create the neural network to then facilitate walking, running, and throwing.
Yeah.
It's not that crawling is particularly like specific to running, but it sets up that foundation.
Yeah.
It's how we move water around the body, and it's how we lymphatically drain our waste products from our body as well, is through those movements over and above everything else. It's not that no other movement can do that a bit, it's that they're the best ones.
Yep.
And they're the best for everything. One thing I've been thinking about, and I'll say it, I think we're getting towards the end. I feel like this has probably been a long one.
This is a long one.
Yeah. If you want to see what healthy fascia looks like, just play with a dog, especially one that's sleeping and like cuddling on your lap.
Yeah.
Like, especially if it's upside down. So you can just kind of flick their foot and it will just bounce like that.
Yeah.
Complete relaxation, complete bounce, like just beautiful connection. You'll also see if you move part of their body, everything else will kind of jiggle.
Okay.
And it won't move as a brick, because a brick is connected. If you move one end of a brick, you move the other end of a brick. But it moves in a wave through the body.
Yeah.
That is a fascial phenomenon. And it's also, we see waves through athletic movement.
Yeah.
Again, you go back to the idea that you can't put very far where one side of your body's moving all at once.
Yeah.
To an extent. Throwing is way more effective form of propulsion because of that wave propagating through the body.
Got you.
Again, that's fascial tension that accumulates to a point, and that's why we can throw super far.
Okay.
So yeah, dogs are a great example of healthy fascia.
Cool.
And they don't do a lot of static stretching.
They don't do any, do
And
they?
they tend not to warm. They tend not to move outside of their mechanical blueprint.
Yeah.
They run, they jump, they twist, they turn, they bounce. And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
We don't make them go up on their hind legs and push weights to build bigger muscles. They build big muscles through their primary functions, which is moving their bodies through space.
Yeah.
And I think humans should do the same.
Brilliant.